Welcome everyone to today's live stream. In case we might be live, of course my YouTube beta live view stuff here got stuck as usual. Anyway, also hope audio is amazing, some audio indication is slightly strange. Anyway, some important update in regards to Apple T2 security chip and Hackintosh and repairability update here from our hero and inspiration Louis Rossmann that I wanted to share. Of course, adding the usual 2 cents from me. Also, a little shout out. You will not believe, a huge shout out, and tell your friends and family each day. You will not believe each day. I just came over here from my support main desk there with customer email, and every second customer is still surprised that Apple takes 30% of the revenue because they ask, can I buy this upgrade from the App Store? And I said, sorry, we are sorry. There are unfortunately no flexible pricings on the App Store. There's one app, one price, and from this Apple takes 30%. And yeah, even if there would be upgrade prices, which there are not, there's only one single price for the whole world, not even India less and Russia less and Brazil less, no, one price for the whole world, and then Apple takes 30%. And every second customer is still surprised that Apple gets 30%. This is disgusting and hilarious. So need to, I can't make this up. Anyway, so what Louis says here, so Louis has had 2 live or videos the last days. Yeah. So of course you can watch the video there. I don't want to copyright this there, the rule. So the big point of the first video is, which is also titled "The Death of Hackintosh Coming?" And welcome everyone, Detroit. So of course this would not be an amazing tech channel if we would not have our own Apple logic boards here to hold in the camera because reasons. And this is a vintage one that I still have since a decade from my friends that we didn't have the professional equipment. You know, they were failing even back in the day. They were failing already. It's not a new thing. So also in the comments, guess which logic board that is. You get 10 bonus points for guessing right. Maybe it still works, not really sure. I don't have the other parts anyway, besides the plastic case was broken because plastic cases break. And so in previous times, not really sure about this one because this is extremely vintage. So what your guess is very much welcome. This should have something relatively similar, but long story short, on those boards, if you are recurring visitors and viewers at Louis Rossmann, those boards have some small IC there somewhere that is controlling the power, called SMC, System Management Controller. Of course, PC laptops have something similar, and what this is doing is starting power, regulating power, and if you sleep, not only wake up and power up, but also sleep. So if you close your MacBook and your CPU and memory should go down, controlling all the different memory lanes that Louis Rossmann is always talking about, and so on. And what he has found in this latest video, so I always said it's not the first time, so it's not like I'm opportunistically taking advantage of something. I said this already 100 times. This T2 security chip is evil, not only because they've stolen our name, but because this is not for the security of the user. This is for controlling that the user cannot do with the machine however they please. And what Louis says here, so allegedly I don't buy this, so I can't verify this because I certainly don't buy this crap from Apple. Yeah, so and typically this is a SMC, and maybe you have not seen, if it's the first time you see Louis Rossmann, he is repairing MacBooks there, or all kinds of MacBooks usually, for the most part. They're out of New York, and the SMC is also controlling the fans power. And usually if you drop some liquid, like just one here, you drink some coffee, though with coffee I wouldn't recommend this because then you have quite some smeary slime there in your MacBook. But even if you drop a little bit of water, you easily short circuit enough to destroy some of those circuits, like the system management controller controlling all the power lines there. And with this SMC, they already had the problem repairing this Mac that you can't buy it because it's a special Apple part. And even so, Lewis says he could even buy it, but then it's not programmed and you can't read the programming out of the SMC. Apparently, I think he mentioned it self-destroys then, or even if it, so even in FPGAs, that theoretically, anyway, you know, have here one, but anyway, even FPGAs and similar logic, you can usually set a read only, no, a write only, or not read bed or something, to not be able to read it again, to program it once, and then at the customer you can't read it anymore. And unless you forget, there were also some devices out there where they forgot to set this bit, and then people could reverse engineer it more because this bit wasn't set. So he says, and also this SMC, of course, 96 ball BGA ball grid array, and then so what they do, they desolder this from another logic board and replace it there. And so he says in this video that these new machines don't have an SMC anymore. The T2 chip is doing this here in these new machines. So the chances, and then when it is cryptographically signed with all the other components in your laptop, you can't even solder it over from another machine, which is what they've done so far. So if this SMC was broken, then they desoldered it from another with hot air, which I showed it here on my channel as well. So you desolder this from another one, you put the new solder paste, new balls, to have new balls on the ball grid array BGA package, and then you solder it again. I'm totally surprised. I would never have expected that this worked. One of the amazing things I learned from Louis Rossmann. I would have never thought that this survives this kind of manual procedure. And then with the T2 chip, so previously you could do this. It is of course a total pain in the ass, but with this T2 chip, because allegedly, so maybe they don't have tried it yet, but Apple says very publicly, this is security and everything is cryptically signed, and you can't, they even said in some support document, you can't switch out parts because they are like the touch sensor married to your T2 security chip. And there you see, this is not for the user. What benefit do you have that no repair person, even if it's the most ingenious repair person, cannot repair this for you? And this is so easy, right? It's not like it damages accidentally only once in a million times. You see, Louis Rossmann has a growing business. He is repairing their thousands of Macs each year because Apple is not even, Apple just swaps the whole logic board, which then costs 700 or even more euro. And then, of course, such a repair is half the price. So long story short, this is of course, there you see the drawbacks. I always warned about this, but this is even one step further, right? That if you have just some drop of liquid in your machine or any other, even or the display, you know, there's also the display, whatever, just a little bit too much load, display on full brightness, fans roaring because you're editing an iMovie video or something, the Mac under thermal stress, and then eventually your SMC failed because high power reasons, and yeah, so much to say hello to your T2 security amazing chip. But what is matters worse, so he even says that the death of Hackintosh is coming, and this is also what I may not have mentioned before, but I also suspected already, and I'm pretty sure I would actually place bets on this, that Apple will use this heavily to, because this is their wet dream, right? Apple is dreaming certainly about nothing else but all those, in the meantime, likely 50%, I don't even have a number, but I guess the number is high. I've even seen bug reports and such sent anonymously from IDs that clearly are not Apple IDs, right? I mean, besides some people use VMware, right? I've seen some VMware 6.1 or whatever. I'm actually surprised that macOS boots with the Mac ID, product ID, VMware 6, something, but maybe they have some agreement with VMware, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure the Hackintosh, as many as Hackintosh videos are on YouTube, we personally don't do this. We still have our aging Macs, right? But I would expect in the meantime the percentage of Hackintosh is really high, and I bet with you that Apple, their greatest dream is to sell everyone who has a Hackintosh to sell a Mac, and I'm pretty sure they use this T2 security chip to achieve this. If not, what most likely, and I said this already before, if some people applaud and welcome ARM Macs, if they come, you can be sure this is the end of Hackintosh, right? Because you will not be able to hack, at least not easily. Well, not be able, especially not if this is as cryptographically signed in the boot process as an iOS device. And so much for those people who say, yeah, macOS is nice, but we have our Hackintosh here. We'll just wait a year or two, and that was then your Hackintosh. And a second video, why do I make this video? I was already thinking to make this video the other week. Just this morning, probably I woke up to this video. Here, this is also why you should share, like, and subscribe to wake up with amazing notifications to amazing YouTube channels like his and mine and stuff like that. So here, he even has an example of a machine, and this exactly, most likely this T2 chip failed. Long story short, he doesn't really see the liquid. Usually you see some oxidation, some glue gunk, some, coffee. And not so much on this. I don't know. He says that this machine would have warranty, but I think he says something like they didn't get a service at Apple. I don't know why. Maybe there are those liquid indicators that turn, I think, red from white to red or something. Not sure if this still already had one, maybe not. Also, still bets are taken what board this is, right? And maybe they refused warranty because this liquid indicator turned red, which already can happen if you are in some humid environment, in some monsoon somewhere in Asia or Taiwan, China, or Malaysia or Brazil or somewhere where you have some heavy rain, or even, I don't know, Alaska, or I don't know what, or wherever you're at your outdoor cabin with some rain shower, and it's not even just humidity, and they sometimes turn red, right? So much to Apple's amazing stuff. And they also see Apple's level of support, right? There is not even something visible oxidated, and yet they still, by the way, some of these pictures are very bright, and yet you don't get service there, which I find really hilarious. And so much to Apple is your friend and amazing, and of course they are not. They are just, especially under Tim Cook, profit maximization. So, and then he shows here with his amazing, he even says not too damaged and stuff. Yeah. There you have it. So of course this is not final proof. I have also not, or probably at breakfast I watched the whole video. Anyway, of course it is not final proof that this is really the defect, but it's very likely. In any case, according to him, the SMC is gone, making this new T2 chip the most expensive single point of liquid damage failure. And that is Apple repair treatment, warranty machine, that you don't get warranty even though you don't see liquid. Maybe some liquid indicator turned red, but I would still argue if there is not visible totally whatsoever, Apple should still service. Also, it's their fault that they don't build them like Lenovo with spill-resistant keyboard where the water can drain out. So yeah, all in all, you see one thing to another, and so on, one step after the other step, everything accumulating. And yeah, it's probably, not, at least not to your surprise, that I don't buy Macs anymore. And I'm not joking about this. Just more proofs here to where this storyline is going at Apple's side. I certainly don't find this amazing. I don't want this. Actually, I should have prepared better. So much too. I was just actually seriously working still with a Canon scanner. Let's unplug all my dongle hell here. So this is of course my Mac. I showed this already, my late 2013, relatively well treated, still relatively okayish. Also, it's the last week's even just on the desk because I use the Lenovo and such, so I don't even carry it at home anymore. And I showed it before already that here the keys start start to, because I'm heavy typer, like, so, you know, I showed this already many times before, that the keys already, the plastic degrades there. But I also showed in an earlier video that here's this rubber here, but actually I probably should put it on autofocus for that again. I became so smart, I now usually stream with manual focus, not to. It's probably not very visible as usual, but here's, I had this on another live stream. Here's this rubber. Come, can you focus? Well, anyway, trust me, this rubber, I showed this already before, but what is more crazy is, because you touch it here always, right? You open it here. I showed this before, the rubber is like just on the edge, and if you open it, you often touch this rubber here with the finger. I mean, these are small problems, right? But I really hate to have a machine where, you know, all the Apple fanboys say this is the most amazing, but quality. And what is more crazy is now that on this side, this is new. And again, I mostly left it in the office, right? And here, this rubber is now even falling off at the side here. Can we get this on camera? Yes, so, damn, camera angles here. Jack, we need to upgrade our camera support team here. So yeah, I hope this is visible, that I have absolutely no idea how this happened. Maybe just heat, because there's actually one more try to hold this somehow decent in the camera here. But somehow I think it's, oh shit, I didn't want to touch it so much. Here's, I hope you, I really hate this. And the problem is, of course, that why do I even mention this? These are the small things, right? And again, I treated this amazingly. You'll probably agree that this looks relatively like new, except that the keyboard is disintegrating and the rubber band there. And there at the side, I didn't even touch it much, right? I mean, there I always touched it a little bit. At the side, I didn't even touch it. It was mostly closed on my desk, on this kind of high-rise aluminum stand. And I didn't even open it much the last month anymore. So maybe it even degraded just naturally and over time and heat and stuff. And I really can't listen to this Apple fanboys, always quality, quality, quality. Excuse me, this is not quality, this is, last point, this is glued, right? So I can't even replace this, even if I wanted to repair this. No, I mean, first of all, if I go to Apple, of course, they probably sell me a whole display for 700 or 900 euro or something, Retina display, 15-inch. But if I do this myself, I could order this rubber band at iFixit. But this is glued, right? So if I swap this myself, like Louis Rossmann style, I risk the whole display to break, because I need to hot air the whole display and then pry it out there. And of course, Louis Rossmann and his team probably usually, or all the other repair DIY people, maybe I should just bring it to Louis Rossmann, fly to New York. Yeah, for the price for a new display, I could book a flight to New York, say hello to Louis Rossmann, have him swap it out and fly back probably. Then what Apple most likely charge me a whole display for, which of course I wouldn't do, because environment, so we have climate crisis and Friday for Future. But yeah, there you have it, just some more data point, as if all the other data points were not enough. My 2 cents. We actually have quite some other stuff to talk and do here. Not really sure if I do another live stream after this one. Certainly I keep this one short. If you like this kind of update and 2 cents, don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Let's see what do we have in the comments. Evening, hello, welcome everyone. Audio, yeah, I only ask because sometimes Pulse audio is acting up and stuttering, but whatever. Also sometimes when I'm like today, I actually checked it before this. Actually, I mostly had this off only for checking and for the because it's a desktop Ryzen, so no integrated loudspeaker. What else do we have here? It's PowerPC. Yeah, power. That is very good. Actually, should have. That is G4. You are so right. This was my friend's one. Also, I said this already before. Why is this? So of course this is PowerPC. Most likely, it's this one. And yeah, even back in the day, they had already thermal problems. This is why we didn't had a hot air gun, something sorting station. So we actually DIY styled this with a T-light, because we only had a soldering iron, right? So we were creative. We put here some tea candle thing, you know, this British thing for under the teapot. Put there 3 flames in, and then additional with a lighter a gas lighter and kept it hot for like 10 minutes and hoped that this soldered it a little bit. And it worked after this treatment for another month. And now, having seen Louis Rossmann's video, I think maybe it's actually not the BGA here of the ATI graphic, but maybe because he has videos where Apple still, the last years, had the problem that a capacitor lost capacity and whatever, tantalum or not, or ceramic or whatever. And so he swaps them to a different type. Maybe, I was wondering, because maybe this did not reflow with our tea candle procedure there 15 years ago, but maybe this only mostly heated the capacitor, and maybe we should rather have, yeah, anyway, theoretically it was in this static bag here for the last 15 years, so maybe if you apply power and still, if you need spare parts, I guess my friend wouldn't mind, because I think I reminded him 10 times that this is still here. The rest of the case is already gone, because back in the day, of course, the Apple plastic case, the keyboard is still there here though. But the rest of the case, I think it had too many broken parts, because Apple famous plastic quality, so the rest of the case is already in the waste. But this electronics I kept because you never know what you could use it for. Actually, I used the speaker cable for the serial port of the one laptop per child in the other video of serial consoling the one laptop per child the last year. And Apple does some quality stuff. The pricing is quality. What? Heck, do you want to pronounce this Nestor, or how is it Cyrillic? Apple does some quality stuff. Yeah, the pricing is quality, the rest not so much. Are you serious or whatever? No, if this is intentional or not, but we don't hear the audio from... What? You didn't hear? Really? Ah, damn. Sorry, I should have read the comments. I was already wondering, because... damn it. That is a fail. Oops. I was already running, so then for the next time, thank you very much. The more you live stream and test, that was not intentional. I should have, as usual, read the comments earlier. Step closer, when eventually make their own silicon for the main board, logic board, keep hearing rumors that they are going ARM. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure that these are real rumors with the ARM. This is just user speculation. But of course, this is a natural development there. So I was actually already wondering why the desktop audio was, the VU meter here was moving together with this desktop audio. This is default. I guess then this is probably working then, huh?
For something like an 820-01521. Now, if we take a look at this, you'll notice that
yeah, okay, that probably worked. Fun fact regarding quality of macOS and Amazement, there are some, so in our software we are, for some inter-process communication, we are using pipe, and the old-fashioned pipe on macOS is super slow. So the kernel, the SNU internal kernel buffer for pipes can only grow 16K. So I think the normal buffer is 1 4K page or something. And I think the large page, or whatever they call this in macOS, is only 16K. And we probably most likely have to rewrite some IPC code, because pipes are so slow. But this is also why the Canon, and one reason why the Canon scanner is the most expensive thing the other day. And the other thing is, so the desktop audio, right? I once live streamed, so this is all Linux, or desktop Linux, because desktop Linux is totally amazing, even with T2. I still think Apple should have paid us 10,000 euro, some reasonable amount, to rebrand our Linux. It is really unfair that they come along and pollute the T2 name with such a negative bullshit. This is really not fair. I would have really, if they demand the name, the problem is, of course, open source, we don't have a trademark. Fun fact, I couldn't even trademark Exact Scan, at least not as wordmark, because they see the fairness of big corporations, right? In the EU there was a reform of trademarks, and even when we wanted to trademark Exact Scan 10 years ago, I guess we couldn't, because it was declined by the German trademark office, because it's only a combination of English words, which then I thought, okay, you know what, I'd rather do something else with my money, fuck this trademark shit. But this is super unfair, right? Microsoft, it's the same, Microsoft, Exact Scan, and even Apple, right? I mean, how can you word trademark Apple? Nowadays, probably, at least in Germany or Europe, you would probably not get a word trademark for either Microsoft or Apple, I would probably guess. But yeah, unfair business, right? Mega corporations and old business, right? New business having to compete in new roles, which were different when Microsoft, IBM, and Apple were founded. And yeah, but I wanted to say another thing. So pipes are super slow, and then there's another super. Then the STL. I didn't test the latest STL, but if you're using yesteryear's Xcode version, I'm pretty sure they didn't change it since then. So the STL has some formatting bug. If you use C++ STL template streams, like standard stream, and you use the 2-decade old-fashioned template stream formatting stuff, and you use hex and fill with a non-zero fill with, and you want to hex format something with like leading zeros, that doesn't work. And I mean, so stupid bugs, right? I mean, the pipe bugs is really the most ridiculous. I wanted to say something else that I probably in the meantime. All right. So desktop audio. The few times I wanted to, once I wanted to stream, which the failed live streams usually, you see on, by the way, drop frames. Hey, 0 drop frames, amazing. DOCSIS cable and desktop Linux here with 64 gigabyte memory from yesterday. So anyway, Linux totally amazing. Even you see desktop audio capture works. I mean, amazing, right? 2019, you can live stream from Linux better than on macOS. The same OBS. I tried OBS on macOS. I was so surprised. You would think that streaming video on macOS works better, right? Fail. So not only does the hardware I use here the VA API, Linux Video Acceleration API stuff for hardware encode on the GPU, obviously, because performance. And on macOS, that's not working stable. So this works only some 20-30 seconds, and then the stream encoding breaks together, that's something down. And the bigger problem is that desktop audio capture doesn't work. I'm so surprised. I would have thought with this fancy core audio, multimedia or something, that would of course work, right? Amazingly on macOS, on the multimedia operating system, like, nah, wrong. It's not supported. You can't capture desktop audio on macOS. I had to install some stupid iCapture something bullshit, third-party open source or at least free to use bullshit that didn't even work nicely. Then you need to reconfigure. Then you even need to configure it in the MIDI and audio settings of macOS. But that's an issue of the plugin. It was not trivial to set up. It was you had to select the right audio device and the other, and nah. And of course it didn't work on the first try. But yeah, so 2019 desktop OBS live streaming works better on Linux than on macOS. Can't make this up. And yeah, quality anyway. So, and oh, by the way, fun fact, right? Go to my Twitter, which by the way we can do here live, or do we have Twitter? Query peak bugs would search work like this, maybe. Account doesn't exist here, thank you very much. Maybe we need a question mark. Just follow me, go on Twitter, what of course this doesn't work, peak bugs. Yeah, just go to hashtag peakbugs. By the way, if you find bugs in macOS, which it's so sad, I get already depressive. When I see macOS in the meantime, it's like, oh my god, nothing really works. MST 4K video output doesn't wake up half of the time and stuff. So just my hashtag peakbugs, right, which I encourage everyone to use because of peak bugs in macOS. And yeah, today, each day something. Today I don't get payment financial reports. Actually, wait, this was yesterday. So yesterday the payment and financial reports are temporarily unavailable. Today, which, yes, it's not directly macOS, but the Apple grant theme. Today I don't get the sales and trends, so I can't even look up what we sold yesterday in the App Store because peak bugs. And on top of all the other stuff that doesn't even work. And yeah, the most hilarious bug, by the way, mouse handling. You would think mouse handling in macOS is totally amazing, but no, it isn't. I learned this the hard way even before we started Xcode, when we started to write Exact Scan in 2004 or something, 2005. And I was so surprised. So rectangles, they work if you want like hover animation and events for mouse movements. There's something like tracking rectangles, probably still from Next Step or something, I don't know, maybe. So usually what you would do, you register tracking rectangles on the screen on your window. You want a tracking rectangle here and there, and then you get notifications, and they are like totally annoying to deal with, which by the way, so they were so annoying. There were so many like, it doesn't work in this combination and that, and then you don't get an event. And if you resize the window, then I think, yeah, right, I think maybe the coordinates, so some of the things macOS, the coordinate is upside down, which is also totally annoying, probably inherited from PostScript or some bullshit. So tracking rectangles, the most annoying piece of garbage ever invented. And so to the point, in Exact Scan, we gave up on tracking rectangles for the mouse pointer. What we do if we need mouse tracking for things like changing the mouse cursor, we just register one single tracking rectangle for the whole window and do the rest ourselves, because that fucking basically just works. Instead of, if you deal with like you have for your selection, you have like 4 or maybe 9 tracking rectangles and they never work. You move the selection, also you move the selection and you would need to update all the, and yeah, right, I think you can't update, at least in 10.4 a decade ago, you couldn't update the tracking rectangles, probably not while you got an event from the mouse. I mean, there was like basically everything was not working. Why do I say this? Even today in iMovie, when I like even yesterday I was reminded when I edited the video with still in iMovie that often or usually, I think this has to do with my 4K and Retina screen, but then it should work, right? I mean, it's not like Apple invented Retina high DPI stuff, doubling the resolution. So each time I edit, the mouse selection stuff doesn't really work. So if I trim some parts of the video snippets there, I can't probably drag and drop them around or change the borders, like to trim something. Like I sit there literally, like sometimes I sit there 1 minute, like move, or the crop of the video. It's like, it's hilarious. And this is most likely, it is exactly what was annoying in Exact Scan over 10 years ago with our successful one-man company. And even in 2019, in the latest version of macOS, in the latest version of iMovie, I can't even often edit this video snippets. It's hilarious. Pros most likely soon make a video because this is just so hilariously bad that it deserves an own video. I mean, besides, this are only on top of all the other peak bugs, right? It's hilarious. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this inside stuff. And yeah, if you are not in macOS, then make 3 crosses in the calendar and be happy, because it's hilarious peak bug situation. It's pure garbage. So let's see, content audience, Apple really about quality works now. I hear Lewis here, great. So yeah, but anyway, I summarized the video. I don't need to repeat anyway, the stream got too long. Step closer to when eventually makes their own, okay, I read this already. I hear Lewis, Apple really wants you to use central dispatch, be using Linux and desktop full-time since 2000, I believe started out SUSE 6.2, yeah, something of that sort, maybe 5, so I said it already 100 times, 1996-ish or something. I still have, maybe anyway, I think I recently, or did I throw them? I found SUSE CDs at my parents' basement, but not sure if I got them with me or threw them in the trash. Yeah, I didn't like SUSE, but maybe we liked, so we were using SUSE, I think SUSE was neutral, it was okay-ish. But in general, I didn't like any of the distribution, which is why I ended up with Rock Linux, which was pretty amazing down to the vanilla open source stuff. What I really hated, I tried to install a magazine CD of Debian in 1996, and that was such a bullshit. I totally hated it. If it would have been for just Debian, I would have maybe not ever gotten in Linux, because this was hilarious. Although we could program, it was such an, like 100 questions. You want to install an email server? Like, no. Do you want to install another email server? Like, no, fucking no. I finally want to use my desktop. Linux there, it's like, this was an hilarious install experience. Yeah, but I couldn't run it because I didn't have enough RAM. Fujitsu Pentium 75 machine and 32. Yeah, amazing stuff. The documentation that came with SUSE was great. Yeah, that probably could be true, which I had to learn SUSE or Linux. Neither of us and nobody of us knew Unix, because we didn't have rich Silicon Valley parents, so we only knew cheapskate DOS and Amiga and Commodore 64, and of course any Super Nintendo and console stuff. And anyway, I hope you enjoyed this update and my recurring 2 cents here. Why do I say this? First of all, my warning in the beginning, how is it possible? And there you see, with all the smartphones and Twitter and newspapers, people heavy, I don't know, but at least Mac users still don't know that when you buy something in the App Store, you give 30% to Apple. I mean, how can this not be clear that when you sell something, buy something in a third-party store, that they will get a commission? It's hilarious. I'm really feeling a mix of sorry for the user too. I have, but the same to the climate change denier, right? On the other video I have, there's some German fight with some climate change denier. It's hilarious. My recurring theme is smartphones don't make people that much smarter. Maybe the phone is smarter, but some people unfortunately not thinking too much. Linux distribution last night, installing uinstaller doesn't work. That is sorry to hear. It is, the question is what installer? It's of course, I never said we made it's also an unsuccessful one-man distribution, right? And I never said we make the most user-friendly Linux. Leave me in the comments below what didn't work. Yeah, right, by the way, this is, we still need to, we ship grub 2, but we may still not yet have an EFI grub 2 integration because we didn't care so much about desktop Linux the last years. Yeah, I still need to wire up some EFI magic for grub 2 on x86. And yeah, you need to know a little bit some internal working of Linux. Yeah, never claimed that it's the most user-friendly. I only claimed it's the most vanilla upstream source. But yeah, probably I need to make someone else asked for a Docker image. Maybe I need to make a Docker image and fun stuff like that, or other virtual machine images available too. But yeah, we have to deal with finding reverse engineering bits in the most expensive scanners for a week and explaining customers that we would really appreciate if they buy from us directly. The problem is, you would ask, why do I not take the app out of the App Store? The problem is that some people really want it from the App Store, but you hear it here from me first. The moment that Apple becomes one step more annoying, we will really take it out of the App Store. And because that has also the review stuff. So you have seen the other videos, right? That our builds disappeared, and I had this hilarious ongoing over 1 year off and on email support, and then it worked again, and then it broke again, and then I emailed again, and then I phoned again, and nobody was really helping, and everything was hilarious. So in between, like the beginning of this month, it like 90% of the time our builds disappeared. So this right now, so you could think we made this up, but no, it was really that bad. It really didn't work. And we didn't, and you also in this video you saw, are you using the latest Xcode version, and are you using the certified latest Apple application loader version or transporter version to send it to the App Store? And we didn't change anything because we like our setup, because it's scripted and automated and on a server and everything amazing. Probably how very few Xcode iOS developer or macOS developer do it. And it works, right? So we have changed nothing. So much to, are you using the latest version? Are you using a certified version? Have you tried to install it and turn it off and on again? No, we changed nothing, and right now it works. So much to 1 year of mostly disappearing builds. Yeah, but again, if Apple makes this App Store stuff one step more annoying, you can be sure, or if it breaks again and our builds disappear, or all the other things, eventually we have really too much. And yeah. So, what is the point to get an Apple device? Asks Mr. Jamel. Expensive and locked in every way. Yeah, I agree. In the meantime, anyway. So, anyway, this stream is again too long. If you want to, so I have a couple of more topics we could. Anyway, I'm not sure, but this is probably fun. Maybe I make another live stream. Maybe not. We have some people in the audience concurrent. What? So we are right now 18 views. We have currently many views, amazingly. Okay, then let's, as we have 18 people who apparently want to watch something, let's make another live stream in a minute. So if you want to hear more exchange of opinion and stuff with actually Linux, so let's turn to Linux. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more Linux and operating system microkernel stuff, stay tuned for in a minute. That is how long I need to create a new stream in YouTube and reconnect and so on. So let's see how that goes.